Jess here. It's a Sunday. I'm here with my cup of tea, and normally Sundays for me are a no internet day. I generally try to not only avoid work but avoid the internet altogether. But because I'm doing the Handmade Biz Bootcamp, which starts tomorrow, that goes out the window when you're doing a launch and you have to just work when you work. So I'm working a bit today. So I was thinking, we finished the Look Back, Move Forward course, and I actually wrote kind of a yearly review of my own 2017 in business, and that's published over on the Create and Thrive website, and the link's in the description to this video if you'd prefer to read this rather than listen to me and watch me ramble about it. So you can go do that, but I thought it would be nice to do a video where I talked a little bit about how 2017 was for my business and why, my businesses, I should say, both of my businesses. So, if you're here and you have any questions about it, you can ask me. So 2017, I should preface that by saying 2018, this year, in October, will mark the 10th anniversary of me starting my handmade jewelry business, Epheriell. I can't quite believe it's been 10 years. It's pretty amazing. It's the longest I've done anything in my life. My marriage is shorter than that. Actually, I've been with Nick longer, though, than the business. So there you go. He wins. So 2017, I decided at the beginning of the year was going to be like a consolidation year, because every single year since 2008, I had started something new. I'd started a new business or a new big project or launched something big. And in 2016, we bought a house and moved. I did my 6-month yoga teacher training. I launched and did the Your Year to Thrive course for the Thriver Circle. There was a lot of stuff, and it was a big year. And so I decided at the end of 2016 that for me, 2017 was going to be a year where I didn't start anything new. I decided to just try to maintain and consolidate what I'd already started, and have a bit of a break. Like I'd thought earlier that I would like to have a sabbatical at some stage, 6 months off after 7 years, I think is the normal sabbatical thing. But I realized that, we take a couple of months off from the jewelry business every other year when we travel, and 3 months is the longest we've ever done it, and that was too long. So I decided that really taking 6 months off was unrealistic, and instead decided 2017 would be a bit of a year where I took my foot off the accelerator for my businesses a little bit and had a bit more breathing space and breathing room. So that's what 2017 was meant to be. To kind of solidify what I'd already achieved, because it's really tempting in business to always be doing something new and different and more. And when you've been doing it for a long time, that can kind of burn you out a little bit. So I don't think there's anything wrong with occasionally just cruising for a little bit. And funnily enough, I did the same thing in my personal life. I actually didn't start any personal projects either, which is really unusual for me. I usually have something going on. It was a bit of a taking the pressure off year, and which was great. I had a lot of extra time to just relax, to read, and sort of explore where I live now since we moved, and it was really nice. However, there are downsides to doing this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today in this video. Again, if you want to read this in detail, the link is in the description. I've kind of written all this out on my blog as well. So let's start with Epheriell, my jewelry business. First of all, we saw sales slow down a bit in 2017, and there are a couple of reasons for this. The first reason is because we actually took 2 major holidays. We had a 3-week trip to Japan, and we had a 5-week trip to the UK later in the year as well. So it was kind of, and you have to shut the shop for longer than you're away, right? When you go overseas, because you need to shut it early so that people, you can get all your orders done before you actually leave and deal with any issues. and you can kind of open it just as you're getting home or a day or so before you get home. So for, you know, a 3-week trip, the shop's shut for like 5 weeks. For a 5-week trip, it's shut for like 7 weeks. So we were shut for a lot of 2017, which obviously impacted our revenue quite a lot. So that was almost 3 months of the year all up that we weren't earning any money from the jewelry business. That's going to change this year. We're not planning any overseas or major holidays this year, so we should be open all year, so that'll be great. We also released 0 new designs in 2017, like nothing. It was just maintaining the designs we had and working with that, which was great for me, having a break, you know, not constantly creating new things and putting them out there. But, you know, it means that obviously your long-term customers aren't seeing anything new from you. Now, for us, this isn't a huge issue because 90% of our customers are one-time only, because our major product is wedding rings. So you hope that people are only going to be buying from you once, right? Funnily enough, the most return customers we've had are people who've lost their rings and want to buy a replacement. I actually had a lovely guy email me this week to buy his 3rd ring. So he's lost 2 over like 2 years and is buying his 3rd one, which is funny, but obviously frustrating for him. So yeah, you know, that's basically, we don't have a lot of repeat customers. So this year I do want to kind of work on the non-wedding ring side of the business and build that back up a little bit again. You know, because we do sell a decent amount of earrings and necklaces and stuff, but generally around like Christmas and holidays, you know, as gifts for people. So I do want to release some new stuff this year to try to boost that side of the business a little bit. So and we've got a whole bunch of new wedding ring designs and ideas as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. We also closed the shop on our own website last year, sorry, because I wanted to rejig the website and move to a different sales e-commerce platform. So we were with Equid, and I've decided to move us to WooCommerce. I loved Equid, it was great, but the one thing there were 2 things I didn't like. One is that it's not actually hosted on your website, so there's a extra loading time, which can be really frustrating for people. And also there is the checkout was not brilliant. The checkout experience for the customer was not brilliant. So I wanted to improve both of those things, which is why we're moving to WooCommerce. And obviously you need to, you know, work on that. So we took the shop down on our site, which obviously impacted sales as well. We were still selling on Etsy though. And still at the moment, the Etsy shop's open, but our own e-commerce store is still not ready to go. It should be open soon though. And of course, I also, because it was a bit of a take the pedal off year, I took a step back from marketing quite a lot. Like I didn't spend a lot of time on Instagram or Facebook or sending emails. Honestly, the vast majority of our sales came from organic traffic. So on Etsy and on our own site, people finding us via Etsy search or via Google search. So those were the 2 things that kind of kept the business running. So those are the things that impacted our sales. I mean, we still had a good year. You know, we still sold a couple of $1,000s worth of jewelry every month when we were open. So it's not like it was bad, but I could see the trending because of those few things. And I want to pick that back up this year, obviously. All right. So yes, we've got a few, you know, I've got a new plan for this year. I do what I will call monthly planning days, where I actually go somewhere else apart from my home office and I spend a whole day planning. So I did that in December and kind of put together a plan for Epheriell marketing and releasing new designs and all of those sort of stuff for the year, which is fantastic. And if you're in the Thriver Circle, there is a podcast where I outline exactly how that's done and how I do it and how I recommend people do it. So you can check that out if you're in the circle, and if you're not, you can join us anytime. So the most thing I'm excited about is getting some new wedding ring designs out there, obviously, because that's our main thing. Sterling silver wedding rings are our main thing, and I want to get a whole bunch more out there, especially as here in Australia. If you're not in Australia, you might not know, same-sex marriage was finally passed into law in 2017, and we have a lot of wonderful customers in that community, or have overseas, but now we can actually serve our Australian brethren as well. So we're going to do a bit of a celebration and have a percentage of sales of wedding rings for a period of time donated to an LGBT community, like a youth charity or something like that, just to kind of support that. All right, so that is Epheriell. Now let's talk about Create and Thrive and the Thriver Circle. So I've been running Create and Thrive since 2013, which is when I started with my flagship course, Setup Shop, which is still running. I'll be running that twice this year. And I've got a few other courses and things going on. But the biggest change this year in the Thriver Circle, which if you don't know what that is, it's my private membership community for makers. The biggest change was that I used to do monthly video workshops every single month for 2.5 years. And I decided to change that and move it because there was so much content in there already, like 30 workshops. Anyone coming in had a huge amount of stuff to get through. They also had the Your Year to Thrive course, which is a year-long course. And I just thought, wow, that's a lot of content already in there. So I didn't want to keep making that even more and more and more voluminous in a way that seemed overwhelming. And so I thought, well, let's do something a bit different and see how it goes. So I decided to start projects, so monthly projects where we as a community would work on one small specific thing. Like, for example, one month we worked on growing our Pinterest followers. Another month we kind of worked on improving our Instagram engagement. In December, I thought a nice thing to do would be to work on getting rid of all of the email subscriptions that you don't need anymore. So, you know, little things like that that kind of in some way improve your life or business. So that's been really fun. But I realized and had some feedback from members that, you know, the long-term members, the people who've been around for years, and there are quite a few and they're amazing, obviously weren't getting new content per se. And I thought, I don't like that. Like, I want to be giving those long-term members something fresh and new on a regular basis. And this is the thing, you know, in business, you're always experimenting, you're always trying new things, you're always seeing what works, or trying something to see if it works. And I really love the projects, and like, you know, am planning on continuing those. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I want to give something back to those long-term members and make sure that they're still getting above and beyond what's already in there, and the community, which really the community I think is for a lot of people our number one reason they stick around, something fresh. So I thought, well, how can I do that? Because I didn't want to keep doing video workshops. I mean, I'm still going to do some, but I'm probably only going to do a few during the year rather than one every single month. And I thought, well, I already have a podcast. So the podcast, the free podcast, has been running again for like 2 and a bit years. I think I started in 2015. And I was doing an episode every single week since it started, bar a couple. And this year, again, in the end of the year, I decided to have a bit of a break from that. So I had 6 weeks off from the podcast, like creating new episodes. And I decided to do a best of, you know, summer series, because it's summer here in in November and December. And I've seen a lot of other podcasts do so kind of that sort of thing. So I thought, hey, I'm going to do that. So I reran, you know, the 6, what I thought and what my community thought were the 6 best episodes from the year. And that gave me just that little bit extra space to take a step back and look at what I was doing. And I thought, well, a really good way to give back to the Thriver Circle members would be to create a members only podcast episode for them every month. Because, you know, the majority of people coming to the circle have found me through the podcast or gotten to know me through the podcast. Not so much, you know, I don't write on the blog so much anymore, and I don't have a habit of doing videos, although that's going to change this year. I'm planning on doing a lot more video because I actually really like it, and I think it's a really nice way to communicate with everybody. So, yeah, I decided to move to having less free podcasts and adding the members only podcast. Well, like what I'm going to do is have 2 main episodes a month. So instead of one every week, there's going to be 2 main episodes a month on the regular podcast for free for everybody. And I'm also probably going to be doing some mini episodes. So like when I do a video like this, or I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of kind of short Q&A type videos, I'll upload the audio of that to the podcast as well, so people can listen to it, as well as, you know, if they don't want to watch it or whatever works for them. Basically trying to make the content available in multiple formats for whatever works for people, because people learn differently. So kind of there might actually be more episodes popping up on the podcast feed, but some of them will be much shorter. And then I'm going to add that additional episode, an additional meaty long episode in the Thriver Circle for members only. And I've already released the first one, which is on how to have an effective planning day, and gotten a lot of great feedback from that. Seen a couple of members who've already done their first planning day, and it's been really awesome. So I'm really happy with that decision. I think it's because the Thriver Circle really is, they support the podcast. Without them, I couldn't do the podcast, because I don't do sponsorships. I don't take advertising. The only thing I do is promote my own stuff on there. And the Thriver Circle really is the main thing that allows me to keep that podcast going. So it's my way of keeping the free podcast going, but also giving something extra to the Thriver Circle members, because they, you know, they're the ones who are financially supporting me and allowing this to happen. So that's one of the changes that's going to be happening, and I'm really excited to see what happens with that. There was a few kind of logistical issues there, and I'm like, well, how do I let everybody know about these episodes when I'm keeping it private? But I've gotten around that, because I thought, well, I record an intro and that goes on my podcast feed, so people will know about the episode, but, you know, if they want to listen to the full thing, they have to be in the circle. And part of me was like, oh, you know, is that kind of, yeah, you know, I was like, I'm not sure. But then I thought, well, no, you know, I've given an enormous amount of free content away on that podcast over the years, and on my blog and everywhere else. And, you know, if you can't afford any money, then there's so much there, and you could spend months just learning from the free stuff. And I'm like, well, you know, you have to balance it, right? I'm making a living. This and the jewelry business, that's how we survive. And it comes back to that idea of worth. You know, and a lot of us in the handmade industry really struggle with this idea that our stuff is worthy, that it's worthy of money, exchanging hands, right? You know, so many of us underprice and feel icky or weird about selling. And I'm really passionate about helping people overcome that and realizing their stuff is worth something, and people will pay for it, and people should pay for it, because you're sharing your expertise and your passion and your skill to create something people want or need that makes their life better in some way. And I'm doing exactly the same thing here. So that's the direction I decided to go with that. Another thing I decided to do, which is a big change and kind of terrifying, is I've moved the Thriver Circle membership from a couple of windows a year to being evergreen. What does that mean? It means it's open all the time. And this is an experiment, which I plan on running for the first 6 months of this year and seeing how it goes. So instead of only opening membership 4 times a year for 48 or 72 hours, membership will be open all the time, and people can join whenever it suits them. And why is this scary? Because, you know, you get a lot of energy around a launch. You know, when you run a launch for something, you can build a lot of momentum. And by not having that anymore, you know, there's always the concern in the back of your head that people won't join, because they can join anytime, so maybe they won't join at all. And also that you're not kind of doing a big thing and people might kind of miss and they might not realize it exists. But it's actually really motivated me, because I've been working on how I've been marketing it, and I'm working on kind of the more long-term consistent marketing strategy rather than a couple of big pushes every year. And I'm kind of enjoying that, because I think I was getting a bit of launch fatigue, and I think my community, you know, if you've been around for a while, might have been as well. And I'm looking forward to eliminating that and just kind of mentioning it on a regular basis. Hey, this is here if you want it. Hey, this is here. I think it would help you. But, you know, it's up to you. Whenever you want to join, or whether you feel like you need that support and guidance, you can join. So that's why I decided to do that. And again, like I said, it's an experiment. If it doesn't work, or I feel like I want to go back to the old way of doing things, I will. But another thing that I really love about this new evergreen model is it's not about me. So one of the reasons I did launches is because there's a lot of admin and stuff that goes around bringing in new members. And I kind of liked containing that into these windows a couple of times a year so that the rest of the time I could focus on other stuff. But yeah, because I was thinking about, I'm like, well, that's making it about me instead of about you, and making it so that it's easy for me rather than it being easy for you. And I'm trying to serve you. So I should really make it easier for you, right? So that's why I've opened it up to be open all the time. And it actually pushed me to do a little bit more research and learn a bit more about some little automation tweaks that I hadn't realized existed in my software that can make things a little bit easier. So that's been really great as well. So yeah, that's been kind of the plan for that. And I think I'm just checking my notes here to make sure I haven't missed anything. And I'll have another cup of sip of tea. Hi, I see new people. Where are you? What are you doing? What's up? How's your year going? And have you done that Look Back, Move Forward course? If you have, I'd love to hear from you. In case you can't tell, I'm in Australia and it's summer, Sunday morning, summer here, which is lovely because we've had horrific days. And I feel for my brethren in Melbourne and Adelaide who've had like 40 degree, and I'm talking Celsius, 40 degree days yesterday and possibly today. Oof. Okay. Podcast, blah, 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 blah. Right. Okay. So what else have I done? One thing I did this year was, this year, I keep forgetting it's a new year. In 2017, towards the end of the year, was I redesigned the Thriver Circle website because I felt it was a little bit dated, and especially the sales page. So I've been working on that and tweaking that because it's been around for 3 years now. And all of that together, I've got some plans for this year. My aim is to update the Create and Thrive website this year because it's really quite dated now. Like I said, I launched that in 2013 and I haven't changed the design since then. And web design has moved on, and I really want to kind of bring it up and refresh it and make it, because at the moment the landing page is the blog, which is kind of the old-fashioned way of doing things. I want to change the homepage to make kind of what I offer a little bit more obvious, like the podcast and Thrive Circle and shop critiques and the services I offer and the e-courses I offer and the ebooks and all that sort of stuff. I want to kind of make it a little bit more obvious what's available for people. I don't plan on launching any more courses this year, as in I don't plan on starting any new ones. One thing I am thinking about doing, I'm probably going to do, is take the Wholesale Know-How course and make it evergreen. I'm planning on running it one more time live, and then I'm going to turn it into a self-study course, I think. Kind of on the fence about that, but we'll see what happens. I also want to work more with shops and business owners directly through my shop scrutinies. I offer shop critiques, and it's not something I really talk about very often. I realized recently I kind of never talk about it. So, people do find it, but it's something I should probably go, hey, just in case you didn't know, I do this, and I've critiqued hundreds of shops, and it's something I love doing. So I want to offer it to you guys as well. So that's something I want to talk a little bit about as well. If you're a Thriver Circle member watching this before February 2018, don't buy one yet. You guys are getting a special something coming up in February related to that, FYI. I'm going to be running Set Up Shop twice this year as well, probably around March and October. And so, yeah, that's kind of the overall review of last year and what it's meant for this year coming up. Of course, things are always open to change and development and evolution. So I might change my mind about some of those things. Who knows? We will see. I am really excited about this year. I think having a break last year was a really good chance to re-energize. And kind of around about beginning of December in 2017, I just got this enormous new boost of energy and excitement about my businesses, and I've been riding that wave ever since. So I'm really excited about this year and what it has in store for me for my communities and customers. So yeah, I hope it's going to be a really awesome year. I plan on it being a really awesome year for both businesses, and seeing what happens. It's always exciting, isn't it? You never quite know what's going to happen and what opportunities might come your way. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And I think that's about it, really. I'm going to finish my tea and head off and do a little bit more work preparing for the bootcamp, which starts tomorrow. If you don't know about that, or if you're watching this after Monday, the 8th of January, before the end of January, you can still join us for the bootcamp. It runs for 3 weeks. And all of the lessons, even if you come later, like the lessons will be in the Thriver Circle forever. So even if you come later, you can always work through it at your own pace. But it's a 21-day program to kind of kickstart your year, or whenever you are doing it. There's a week on finding your why, so your purpose, because that's the sort of thing that it really makes it difficult when things get tough if you don't have a burning why, or really understand your core values and what's motivating you, what's driving you through the hard times. So kind of clarifying that is really important. And I know from my experience with the Thriver Circle, because this is a kind of sort of stuff you do in the Your Year to Thrive course as well, but then it takes much longer because you only get a lesson a week, whereas this is it's like a boot camp, 21 lessons in 21 days sort of thing. That makes a huge difference. There was actually one member who was just talking about this the other day, and she's like, when I really sat down and did that finally, it changed everything for me. And my business has just gone since then. So that's a really important step. And a lot of us who kind of, who start as hobbyists, we don't necessarily ever do it because we're just kind of going with the flow and just doing those little step-by-step things to try to make more sales without ever stepping back and going, well, hang on, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? And then people get burnt out and they quit, which is really sad. The second week is about planning. So really putting together a solid plan for your business at the year level, right down to the day level. I have this planning method that I developed called the Top 3 Priorities Planning Method, and it works at any level. So it's really helpful. So I'll be taking you through that. And the third week is all about promotion, which is for most people their most hated / difficult / scary thing. But it really, what it comes down to is figuring out who you're talking to, who's buying your stuff, i.e. your ideal customer, and talking to them and telling them stories and connecting with them. So we're going to kind of talk about that level right down to let's get nitty gritty with dates and platforms and plans. So those are the 3 things that kind of we're focusing on in that boot camp, which I'm really excited about as well. I ran it a few years ago. It's changed since I ran it the first time. I've rejigged some of the lessons and moved stuff around. So I'm excited to kind of work through that with everybody as well. All right. Thanks for watching, Thrivers. It's been really nice to share this with you. If you have any questions about my businesses or my kind of progress or any questions in general, just leave them in the comments and I'll check them out. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.